Welcome friends, my name is Wren, and today I'm going to talk about a topic I've been meaning to for a while, my experience as a young cane user while working in customer service. Now, I'm going to preface this with y'all. This is not a peppy and positive toned vibe like most of my other videos. No, today I'm gonna rant. Because when you work in retail, you don't get to be angry. But I have a YouTube channel now, and it's been 3 years, so I can complain about it. Hopefully anyone watching this can take what I'm going to say, and with luck, keep themselves or someone they know from coming off as a jerk in public. Or if you see someone else treating a disabled person poorly, you can back them up if it looks like they need it. In my experience, the best way to get people to empathize with the problems ableism causes is by hearing out someone else's encounters with it. But before that though, let's start with what I'm drawing today. I turned my brother into a fairy-type Pokemon gym leader. This was my first fully rendered painting in Clip Studio Paint since my software switch, and I'm really happy with how all the new lighting techniques I tried turned out. If you like art, comics, and storytelling, consider subscribing. And if you'd like to join the Crow's Nest Discord server filled with other creative and friendly people, the invite link is in the description. If you're feeling generous, I have a tip jar linked down below. I'm going to start with just describing some frequent occurrences that became regular once I started using my cane at work, followed by the most anger-inducing situation I ever had between me, a customer, and my boss, and then I'll wrap up with what ultimately made me quit. My job was being a front service clerk and cashier. While I was working at the most popular grocery store in Florida, I got to encounter several kinds of customers. 1, people who wouldn't say much and just check out as quickly as they could. 2, the talkative ones who were friendly and honestly made my job worth it. And 3, the ones who would infantilize and make fun of me for being a cane user in addition to the other visible symptoms I experienced. I'd honestly say the amount of time someone would comment on or inquire about my disability was about 1 person for every 5 customers, every shift, and my store didn't have a self-checkout, so you can envision how many people I saw every day. I get it, I was a novelty, being the only employee in the store with a mobility aid and a young one at the same time at that. These comments would range pretty widely. Some would be romanticizing, calling me ambitious and admirable. Others would be patronizing, saying someone like me shouldn't have to work so hard, and it was so unfortunate that I needed a job. And then there were people who, whether it was outwardly aggressive or passive-aggressive jokes, would condescend me, saying I was faking or not disabled enough if I could find the energy to work, that I couldn't really need my cane because I was a teenager at the time. And you want to know the real kicker? I wasn't the only one hearing comments like this. But I'll get to that in a moment. If there was one question both in my job and in my life that I am sick and tired of hearing, it's being asked, quote unquote, "What's wrong with you?" Complete strangers, who didn't even know my name, felt entitled to an explanation for why I could possibly need a cane because I was young, and after all, only old people need them. And in the beginning, I refused customers who asked this because it was rude and frankly dehumanizing, but this would make people more insistent. After all, why wouldn't I just tell them? Why keep it a secret? What could I be hiding? Am I a liar who's carrying around a cane so I can be allowed to sit down at work while everyone else has to stand for hours on end? Am I milking a cheap doctor's note for special treatment? I really wish I could say this was hyperbole. It got to the point where I would just lie, give an oversimplified answer. The second I'd say, I have arthritis. That would satisfy most people's curiosity. Of course, some people didn't believe me because that's not a young person's condition. But guess what? While I don't have it, juvenile arthritis is a completely separate disease that does exist. I do have lumbar facet arthritis, but I shouldn't have to explain my medical condition to strangers in order to keep the peace at my job. And it wasn't just limited to my cane either. Oh no, it was also inclusive of the other things about me that made me look or act different. It's pretty under control now with medication, but during this period of my life, I was experiencing chronic involuntary muscle spasms and tremors. I also am neurodivergent, and while I did my best to mask, it was apparently noticeable enough to make customers ask my coworkers why I wouldn't really look at them. Hell, right here, I have a vent post from Reddit 3 years ago where I wrote down that a customer specifically asked my managers why I would twitch or why they were, quote, making me work. It's one thing to be this outright rude to my face, but it's entirely another thing to go up to my boss and basically say that I shouldn't work because employing someone disabled is a bad look. I'm not making this shit up. That's what my boss told me a customer said to their face. It's slimy, cowardly, and just gross, and I truly don't think I'll get over or process that one because of what it led to. Before I talk about what made me quit, I'm going to tell you a quick story about the first and only argument I ever had with one of my bosses. This guy in particular was someone I disliked the most and was a big factor in making me quit. We'll call him Greg. In this snippet, there are 3 characters outside of myself. There's Greg, the assistant store manager, Thomas, the store manager, also known as the big boss of everybody, and Sarah, the customer. Now, I will be the first to admit, what I was fighting for was technically against the rules. However, this isn't a stance I took based on whether I wanted to do was in line with store policy or not. It was about what was morally right, about human decency and empathy for someone who genuinely needed help. Setting the scene here, it's nearing the end of the pandemic, and everything is open again, and I'm wiping carts up front. A woman is driving a motorized cart with a small service dog that can neither fit by her feet nor walk alongside because the leash keeps getting caught and the store is busy with a lot of people walking around. Sarah, the woman, has one arm in a sling and a tank top on, showing fresh, extensive stitches and staples on her shoulder and shoulder blade. I watch her bend down to pick up her dog with one hand before putting it in the cart. I stop what I'm doing and talk to her to see if I can help, because that's literally what we're supposed to ask everyone, and this time I really mean it. After a few minutes of conversation, I learn a few things about Sarah. 1, she just got out of the hospital down the road after surgery because of a bad car accident. 2, she lives alone and needs to get a few groceries because she was an inpatient for almost a week. 3, she can't use her arm at all without pain and risk of injuring the wound she just got fixed. 4, and I don't remember the specifics clearly, but she can't leave her service dog in the car because she's at risk of symptoms from a health condition she has, and her dog is trained to alert her if her body starts experiencing those symptoms and she needs to call for assistance. 5, she can't keep her dog in her lap because obviously she can't use one arm to hold the dog and drive the cart at the same time, so her solution is to put the dog in the basket so she can quickly get some groceries and leave. Now, it's against policy to have any animals of any kind in the carts. However, I would reasonably think that especially for a store that brands itself on its exceptional customer service and its accessibility at that, to help her. So I offer to help her shop or at least let her keep her dog in the cart if my manager says it's okay. So I call over Greg, the head manager on staff, and explain the situation to him. He goes on to deny this request with a lengthy explanation. And look, I get it, it's against store policy, but this poor woman just wants to get some groceries and go home. She's hurt and in need of assistance, and furthermore, at this store, there's plenty of precedent for helping her. The head store manager, Thomas, would constantly bend the rules in order to assist disabled customers. Need a shopping assistant? No problem. Need to have your service animal in the cart? No problem. No hesitation, no questions asked, not a single complaint. And to be honest with you, I liked this guy. He was a genuinely good person. Look, I'm biased here, but if there's one thing my young teenage self loathed, it was a sense of injustice. So after arguing with my manager about helping her, I fully snapped and said, Thomas would do it. And he would. He had done it before. This made Greg wave off the customer, who ended up leaving without shopping, by the way. I was then made to follow Greg into the back office, where I got a several-minute lecture about correcting him in front of a customer, but frankly, I didn't care. This was a moment that made me not want to be told what to do, because I personally felt he was morally in the wrong here, and honestly, I still feel that way. I wish for just one moment I could have helped Sarah so she could just get some damn groceries and go home. And it's not like I asked him to bend the rules for no reason. I offered to wash that cart as soon as she was done. I said I would stay late past my shift in order to help her get her groceries. I would have done whatever I was asked in order to assist her. Greg would also be the one to tell me to pack it in at work because my symptoms were visible to customers. Keep in mind, I wasn't a subpar employee. I received a consistent stream of praise and compliments from both customers and my department managers for my work efforts. I was the lead person on the cleaning crew and trained all of our new employees only at 17. I was denied a wage promotion to cashier despite working as one for nearly a year because the managers kept forgetting. I was also told I appeared, quote-unquote, disheveled compared to other female-presenting coworkers because I didn't wear makeup or jewelry, and I didn't style my hair outside of a slick ponytail. Despite being in uniform dress code, my appearance was still knocked on, even though I came into work with my uniform neat and tidy every day. I've never been good at controlling my face. Another trait due to the neurodivergency. I often keep my expression blank unless I'm talking to someone, and whether it was the dark circles under my eyes or the slight twitch of my eyes due to migraines, I was often criticized for looking tired when I wasn't speaking to a customer. Hell, one guy literally kicked my cane and accused me of faking. Once I started using a cane and customers endlessly began commenting, chiding, or even outright insulting me at times, suspiciously, my hours gradually got cut shorter and shorter. When I would bring this up, they blamed it on hiring too many people when we already had a full staff. I had been working there for 2 years and always consistently came in on time. I went from working almost 30 hours a week to 3 to 8 at most, and the wage I was making, that wasn't even enough to afford to pay for my medication. I was running myself ragged, dealing with unpleasant treatment both at work and at school, because I'm sure you can imagine what my senior year was like once I started bringing a cane around. I couldn't escape it. My body was failing me. I felt like I was in a prison made from my own bones, and my mental health took such a serious dive that my neurologist, who had been treating my psychiatric disorder, told me that it was not only impacting my treatment, but regressing it as well. I couldn't do it anymore. I was absolutely done. So I did it. I scheduled my last day to be a short 3-hour afternoon shift on my 18th birthday, a much-needed gift to myself. You want to know the thing that feels a little more painful about it, though? I still shop at that store. And now that I'm just another customer, I don't get anyone coming up to me and pointing at my cane. Ever. What hurts is knowing that because I was in uniform, people felt comfortable enough to target me, to say hurtful and degrading things to my face and my bosses. And I think, subconsciously or not, they knew it's because I couldn't do anything about it. If someone came up to me now, I could tell them to fuck off and walk away. I couldn't do that in customer service, and I think that's what made them so comfortable treating me that way. And I'll be real, I don't know how to end this video. I mean, what the fuck am I supposed to say? That it's rude to treat someone like a freak and badger them with questions because they have a mobility aid? When you don't even know their name, that you shouldn't grab or kick someone's property, something legally a part of their body, or that taking advantage of someone weaker than you is bad? This is all obvious shit. I shouldn't have to say that just because someone is young, it doesn't mean they're using a mobility aid for attention. Does that ever occur to anyone, by the way? That the attention you get from being disabled is pretty much never, good? Why would someone go out of their way on purpose to attract mistreatment from others? Outside of special cases, of course. I don't know. I don't fucking know. But all I do know is I wish I had allowed myself to talk back to people when I was younger. Job be damned. I did not deserve to be disrespected and undermined while I was just trying to work like everyone else, because unlike some people, I didn't and still don't qualify for disability, and even if I did, I still likely wouldn't take it because their rules do trap you in poverty. If this is the first time you're seeing a video of mine, hey, I'm Wren, and I am usually more positive than this, but this was a long time coming, and I'm glad I can make something good out of this so I can let it go. But yeah, enjoy the art, and go watch another one of my videos. They're all much more upbeat than this rant. In the meantime, please be kind to one another, and when in doubt, keep your questions to yourself, please, unless you actually have a relationship with the person, and when you do ask politely. Disabled people don't owe you an explanation, but for a lot of people, if you're nice, they won't mind. With that being said, stay hydrated, stay safe, and be yourself. Ciao!